It's a tribute to Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak ben haKohen Rosenfeld. Rabbi Rosenfeld was my childhood rabbi in 1977 when he took over the shul as the Rav from his illustrious father-in-law, Rabbi Yaichel Simpson, a Talmud of the Rashab in Lubavitch and Lubavitch, a Chayzer, and Rabbi Rosenfeld was one of his son-in-laws. So I grew up with Rabbi Rosenfeld. So I want to share some personal things and to show, what type of Yid he was. Rabbi Simpson used to chazer a maimer every Shabbos by Shalosh Shudas, as the tradition in Chabad is. When he passed away, Rabbi Rosenfeld started to chazer the maimerim, to review the maimerim between Mincha and Ma'ariv Shabbos afternoon by Shalosh Shudas. And I noticed, this was when I was like 16, 17, I noticed that he was chazering maimerim of the Rebbe Marash. Now we in Yeshiva were learning Derech B'Tzesecha, Tanya, later Samach Vov, Reish Nun Tes. No one learned maimerim of the Rebbe Marash, not Yeshiva, and not much other times either. So I asked him. So he said, this is what we learned in 770, in the 1940s. That was the Sfarim, that a few of the Sfarim the previous Rebbe had printed with the Rebbe Marash's maimerim, was the grandfather of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And I remember I used to come early, and he used to sit, and I saw him preparing the maimer and reviewing it and memorizing it, and then he said the maimer. And it just left an impression. I could see it like in front of me right now, coming into the shul at, let's say, 6:30 or 7, whatever it was, before Mincha in the longer days, and he's sitting there learning the maimer. Another thing that I saw, he used to have a kfiyas, he used to learn with Rabbi Mendelovich. Those of us from Boro Park know who he was. He was a Russian Yid that was close to Avraham and Rabashkin. And he used to learn with him Shulchan Aruch. And Rabbi was a simple person. Rabbi Rosenfeld taught him Shulchan Aruch. Then later he learned with someone named Rav Ruderman. Rav Ruderman was Gadol Talmud Chacham. But they learned Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. It could be he was a Bakin Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Rosenfeld. I don't know. I know from his children are big Talmidei Chachamim, so I guess they got it somewhere. But the commitment, to learning, to Chassidus, Nigla, I saw that. I grew up with that. And who can forget Rabbi Rosenfeld standing outside sometimes, Mincha Ma'ariv, to make sure there's a 10th person. Your heart goes out. Here's a person with, a white beard already, he's in his 80s, and he's standing outside to schlep in a minyan. Why? Because this was a shul of his father-in-law, and it was a shul of the named Tzemach Tzedek. Then later, after he passed away, the father-in-law, they named it Beis Eliyahu, Beis Chabad. But it was Chabad of Boro Park was the Simpson / Rosenfeld shul. That's what it was. The shul started in this location in 1936. It actually started in 1929 on 14th and 46, where you see on the gem video the Frierdiker Rebbe from the second floor looking out to the people who came to greet him in 1929. That was on 14th Avenue, 46th Street in the corner. But then in 1934, that burned down until he moved to a permanent place. It was 1936. So he's there 89 years, right? It's 2025. The shul, that place was 89 years open as a shul, as a Mokum Torah. And Rabbi Rosenfeld himself moved there in 1963 because his mother-in-law passed away. So with the advice of the Rebbe, he moved in with his wife and family to help the Rabbi Simpson, who's already was older. And he lived there pretty much till probably about 60 years, till 2023 or so, before him and his wife, couldn't be alone anymore. And they moved to their son in Crown Heights. So, 60 years being, between your father-in-law and then leading a congregation of Lubavitch shul. Some other memories. Every shul is the people from Crown Heights, or Talucha, they would walk in, right? Shulas was Borough Park, Williamsburg was Pesach, Shvishal Pesach, and Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres was East Flatbush. And I remember, as a boy, seeing this. We got here, my parents moved here in 1970, I was 9 years old, And I remember the Chassidim coming. I remember Berel Lipsker speaking. It was on someone's shoulder, and I remember Bula Butman on speaking on someone's shoulder. I remember, and there was thousands of people in the street of Lubavitchers, and people, the Boro Parkers, were standing and looking from the outside. And Rosenfeld had kiddush and mezainis and soda at the place. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was great. And that was Lubavitch. It was Chabad. Then, of course, the Rabbi Yoel Kahn's shiurim began before Heichel Menachem began in Rabbi Rosenfeld shul, and there was a time when Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak was teaching Chassidus there. That's where it began. The Chassidus shiurim, I think, in 75 or so, 76, 77. Those years began the Chassidus shiurim that Rabbi Yoel used to give the Tanya shiurim. It all began over there. A lot of memories. Yep, Rosenfeld was zeicher to 96 years, I think. They wrote 95, but I think it was 96. He was born in Av, I believe, so this Av he would have been 97. Tafresh Peites, 1929 Av. And he raised, Baruch Hashem, beautiful children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Just 3 weeks ago, he was Masadi Kedushin, I think, of a great-grandchild at 770. And I comfort all of them, those that are more my age, and then the older sons who are in their shluchim all over the world, in Switzerland, in Colombia, in Eretz Yisrael, here, there, and everywhere, and the grandchildren are shluchim, and great-grandchildren. It's beautiful to see. It's a beautiful family. And on one hand, this, it closes the circle, Sagurata Magal, I mean, I was standing there this morning and looking at the shul and looking at the hearse and the casket and the urn and the people. And it's, on one hand, very sad, it's the end of an era. It's the end of an era. Now, Baruch Hashem, there's several Lubavitcher shuls and Beis Menachem, Heichel Menachem, and then there's things happening, but this is something that I grew up with, and many of us grew up with, and those that are a little older can relate to what I'm saying. This was Lubavitch in Boro Park. Okay, it was always small. We weren't very large, it was never. But it was a magnificent shul. You had in the shul there people like Rabbi Levi and Ginsburg and Zelig Levin and my father and Ichi Raiport and Kolodny and Pekarsky, Rubashkin, Rabinowitz and Scheinberger. And it was a happening place. It was arguments and sometimes fighting and screaming and sometimes hugging and kissing and verbringing. And it's really a very, very special thing, So my wish to the family is to continue Rabbi Rosenfeld's ways. How he came to Lubavitch. His father was a Ger Chassid. In fact, I know where he's buried, not far from my father-in-law. And he came to Lubavitch. I think the Groners helped, brought them, that's what they say, to the yeshiva. He became a Talmud in the early 1940s in the yeshiva. He was, I think in 1946, he was sent, I believe, to Chicago with a group, Rabbi Goldman, him, and the Posner, label Posner, and a few others. They were like Bocharim, Shluchim, and 1946, I believe, to Lubavitch Yeshiva in Chicago. What else should I say? That so on one hand, it's the end of an era. At the same time, there's the generations continue. And he left over such a beautiful, illustrious, and wonderful and large family. And may Hashem help that death should be eradicated, and may his memory be a blessing, and let us continue doing good things that Rabbi Avraham Yitzchak ben Rabbi haKohen, so he was a Kohen. Rosenfeld should be in the right place, in the best place, and to go to the Rebbe and beten sich beim Rebbe to bring Mashiach and to rebuild the Beis Hamikdash. Amen. Thank you.